see the past, present, and future all at once. I see Max.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 8, and this will be my review and breakdown for The Flash Season 8 Episode 15, titled Into the Still Force. And right off the bat, guys, just giving you guys my quick initial thoughts on this episode before I go more in detail with the breakdown itself, especially with the amount of Easter eggs, foreshadowings, and many other teases we got during this episode. I really enjoyed this episode. This episode was hands down the best interlude episode we've ever had. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why. It felt like we had all those ingredients from like older seasons of The Flash, whether that be like tonally and just how things built up in general. However, of course, it was mixed with the characters we have on the show right now. We do get to delve more into the Still Force in this episode. We get to find out a lot more about it. We get to actually see it. And it was an interesting concept. I do really like what Eric Wallace brought into existence, as he was, of course, the director for this episode. And it was really well directed, I will say that, especially when it came to the Still Force stuff. It created this, mystery behind the Still Force, and that was, of course, something I really liked. I did really like the shots Eric Wallace went for this episode as well. I think it worked really well. I just found all the Still Force stuff just really interesting. It was probably my favorite parts of the episode, and it just really kept me hooked. We had some great scenes and interactions with Barry and Nora during this episode. We got to see Barry have some new abilities during this episode as well, and it was really cool seeing him use the Still Force. That was such an interesting concept they brought in. The concept for this episode was very unique, and it's probably why it stood out to me a lot, and I believe that it worked really well. They were able to really work around Candice Patton's absence, as this whole episode and the next couple of episodes, they're of course working around the absence of Candice Patton, as she took a hiatus during those episodes because she's not going to be back until episode 19. But with what they did during this episode, they really found a way to work around it, and I think they were successful with what they did. We of course had some very interesting Easter eggs during this episode, and does foreshadow some potential storylines we could be getting, as well as a potential new speedster we might be seeing during season 9 as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. I didn't have many cons in this episode from what I could think of. We had a bit of cheesy scenes here and there, such as that scene with Nora in the loft. It just felt too over the top. It wasn't, really cheesy in a way. It just felt way too much. And then we had one of the scenes with Chester. I can't remember which one it was, but there was a scene with Chester that did bother me quite a bit as well. It's nothing that really affected my thoughts on the episode a lot. It was just minor. It just felt over the top, and those types of scenes normally do bother me. That's why I do notice it. But for general viewers, it might not feel that bad. It was just something that bothered me, but it wasn't that big. It was just a small nitpick, I guess. And those scenes just, in my opinion, when they incorporated it with the scenes we had with the Still Force, which came to the more serious stuff, I don't think it worked. We have Iris going missing, and then we have all the Still Force stuff, all the mystery behind it. It has such a serious tone in there, and then when we just fade away and segue into the other scenes and get those cheesy moments, I didn't feel like it fit well with the episode. But other than that, really, I think I really enjoyed this episode. I think that's my only minor nitpick. But other than that, I can't really think about anything from the top of my head. Maybe when I go more in detail with the breakdown, I might think of something, but so far that's just my small nitpick I had. But yeah, for those who haven't seen the episode, of course, spoiler alert, as this is a review and breakdown after all. So I'll be going over some major spoilers that you certainly wouldn't want to hear from me. So for those who haven't seen the episode, go watch the episode and come back later for this breakdown. But for those who are staying, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Okay, so this episode starts off where we have Barry attempting to speak to Iris. He's walking down the stairs as he's just getting ready for the day. He's saying stuff to her, and yeah, he pretty much notices that Iris is not at the house. However, he does receive a text from Iris saying that she's just going to pull an all-nighter so that she can get this new article published. Of course, Barry is just, he's aware that Iris is not at the house. He's aware that she's gone to the Citizen. So this is when we have Barry going to the Citizen with breakfast. However, Iris is missing. Her laptop is open. Her bag is there. Yeah, Iris is just missing. And of course, Barry does notice that something is up. Now, I did find this really funny, but they used a lot of reused shots of Barry running around the city from last season. It's not even a lot. They, like, every single shot they used with Barry running around the city, they were all reused. And the reason why it was so noticeable is because they were all from season 7. I think most notably season 7, episode 15, 16, and 17. Due to it being so recent, like, you could really spot it. Like, it's not anything bad. The show has done this before. It was just something I was just able to point out. It doesn't affect my score on the episode or anything like that. It was just something I was able to point out and I just found really funny. But other than that, like, it was fine. I didn't really mind it. We do have Barry visiting Star Labs, and he does tell Chester and Cecile that Iris is missing. And yeah, he has no idea where she is. Chester does run like a satellite scan, but he's unable to find where Iris is. And they do use Cecile as like some plot device once again, where she somehow can now use her powers to scan Iris's mind from Central City. Since when could we see Cecile do something like that? I don't know. But yeah, Cecile's brain scan was unsuccessful as well. So yeah, Barry does essentially mention that, okay, Iris has gone missing. She's disappeared into the Still Force, or she's just disappeared because of her time sickness, and they need Dion's help. But Dion has not been reachable ever since he got affected with Iris's time sickness, and of course disappeared into the Still Force as well. Now we do have Caitlin and Chilblain once again, and Chilblain is essentially calling Caitlin crazy for this idea that she has. He does pretty much call her Frankenstein, and rightfully so, because Caitlin is trying to bring back someone from the dead by literally creating them in a lab. But yeah, Caitlin is essentially sure of whatever she's doing. Like, she thinks, or she's sure that it's going to work. She just needs Chilblain's help for a couple of things, including extra DNAs from Frost. But yeah, Chilblain just full on just calls her crazy. I don't want to be a part of this plan. Yeah, he just leaves. I do love what they did with Chilblain this season. He has really been serious and has really improved as a character to a point where I really liked him. So yeah, pretty much for this whole season, I have really been a fan of Chilblain. I really enjoy what they did with him. And yeah, hopefully he does continue like this. I am also very interested to see what direction this storyline is going to take Caitlin's character as well, because she's definitely heading into a dark path, you can tell, and there will definitely be consequences to that. So yeah, I'm really interested where this is going to go. Now, I do get that Team Flash have been busy and distracted with all the Iris stuff, so I'm not going to mention it in regards to like early on in the episode. But at least towards the end, I did find it kind of weird how no one just checked up on Caitlin, considering that she has lost her sister. So I found it weird that no one just checked up on Caitlin and pretty much saw how she's doing. That was a bit weird, but again, like, considering what happened in this episode, I would let that slide. But like, they could have done something maybe like later on in the episode where they could have gone to Caitlin and just checked up on her. But I do get that for story purposes as well, because of course if they went to Caitlin's apartment, then they would easily see what Caitlin is up to. Now we do have Barry going to Coast City trying to get Tinya Wazo's help, and I just love how they just use Central City jitters as Coast City jitters. But yeah, it is what it is. We do have Barry asking for Tinya's help. However, Tinya does not want to help Barry because of what Iris has done to her mother. But eventually Dion does show up and tells Barry that Iris is in the Still Force, but he can't find her alone due to him being affected by her time sickness as well. So Dion has been weakened quite significantly, and that is why Barry will have to go into the Still Force with Dion to find where Iris is, and Barry will have to retrieve the isotopic signature device to find where Iris's Still Force tracker is. Now we do have Barry talking about this with Team Flash, and we do have this disagreement coming from Joe, as this is something he is unfamiliar with, so how can you really trust going into the Still Force? So we do get that conflict in the episode, but yeah, you do really understand where both sides are coming from, because with Barry, his wife is gone and he's really determined to get her back, because he's really worried about this. She's just lost in time in the middle of nowhere. But with Joe, he as a detective of course has another point of view, and he's of course suspicious, especially when not hearing anything from the other forces. but also he knew something was up because Barry is literally just rushing into the unknown, so he could come across some pathways, which of course could be a danger, but Barry doesn't see through that. His main goal is just to go into the Still Force, get Iris back. But Joe is of course thinking it from another point of view, so you do really understand both sides, and I think that was very well handled. But yeah, we do have Dion and Barry meeting in the speed lab, and he does warn Barry that the Still Force is very different, so he's going to feel weird in there. And this is when we do see Barry in the Still Force, and it just looks so nice. Eric Wallace directed this episode really well, and a lot of shots just looked gorgeous in my opinion. I don't get why they kept the green glow sticks around though. Like, I get like the certain sceneries they went for would not have worked without those, but it just felt weird seeing them on camera. I thought they could have like cut them out or something like that, but as I said, like, it wouldn't have looked as good if they removed those glow sticks as well. You do of course see this different feel in the Still Force, and they explain it because Iris's time sickness is essentially causing all of this to happen. Now, we do have Barry and Dion walking around the Still Force, and we do see like a lot of time flickering. We see people aging and de-aging. We see everything like reversing and then going back to normal. And of course that Zoom and Godspeed newspaper article flickering as well. Now, the reason for this, as explained, is because time works indefinitely in the Still Force. So it is pretty much the past, present, and future all at once. So yeah, that Zoom and Godspeed article could foreshadow a storyline coming very soon, because of course it does foreshadow the future. This is in May 4th, 2024. So we could definitely be getting some sort of storyline with this. And of course, if we do get it, it's going to be during season 10, if we do get a Flash season 10, because the newspaper article is of course 2024. So the only way that could happen is if we get a Flash season 10. So yeah, can we get a Flash season 10 so we could actually see what's happening? I don't know, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we do then head into the Central City citizen of the Still Force, and we do get this future interaction with Allegra and this other like peer member working at the citizen, and they do seem to have some conflict going on. And really it gives this feel of the Still Force with these scenes, because like we do see like time flickering here and there again, but we do also see like a future scene that's most probably going to happen during episode 17, which is going to be an Allegra centered episode. So whatever's going over here, it's definitely hinting to some Allegra episode happening. So I'm guessing it's going to be episode 17. And yeah, it will be interesting to see what is actually going on over here. But yeah, while they're in the citizen, Barry does of course come across Renee Wazo, Tinyam Wazo's mother, but then she just quickly disappears. Barry wants to help her, but Dion just wants to prioritize Iris because she will literally fix everything if they could just find Iris. We do then segue to another storyline, and this is when we have the Chester Kramer storyline happening, where Kramer calls Chester to analyze some tech and run a diagnostic of it because it was responsible for an explosion taking place. But as Chester disassembles it, he does realize that whatever is happening over here and like the tech in it is from his teachings essentially. Like, it's his doing in a way, because this is something created through Chester's live streams, because he does show, okay, we're gonna make this piece of tech, I'm gonna show you how to make it. He's doing things like that, and this was essentially created from his own doing. So Chester was quite shocked about that. And of course, later on in the episode, he does eventually find out that the person who did this did have good intentions, but like an accident just occurred. But this of course is a lie, as later on in the episode, someone ends up downloading all the files. So yeah, someone is definitely using this for the bad, and I am very interested to see where this storyline is going to go as well. But we then head back to the Central City citizen, and we have Barry and Dion getting closer to finding Iris. They do eventually come across the particle which Dion stored into Iris to of course track where she is if she gets lost in the Still Force. And yeah, this was something I definitely was not expecting, but Dion betrays Barry and absorbs that particle, leaving Barry alone. This was a bit weird. I am interested to find out why Dion did this. Was this the negative Still Force? I don't think so. I think Dion just did it to gain some strength so that he could of course help Barry and the others a lot more, but then you could contradict that by saying, okay, when he absorbed it, then why didn't he just stay along with Barry? So clearly something is up over here with Dion. I'm really interested to see what it is. But yeah, Barry has just been backstabbed, and yeah, it's not going too well for Barry. But this is until Nora is called by Dion in 2049, and we do see her like writing this article. She does get summoned by Dion, and she gets thrown into the Still Force as Barry is in need of help. Now, Barry and Nora then reunite, and we do have some really good interactions between those two. It was definitely my favorite part of the episode, and this is when we have Nora talking a little bit about her life in the future and how this new Nora is essentially a reporter instead of the old Nora in season 5, who of course used to be a CSI. But eventually, like after this pep talk Nora gives to Barry, Barry believes that he has a part of the Still Force within him, and due to this connection, if he focuses and through Wally's meditation techniques, he would be able to channel that Still Force and hopefully help get out of the Still Force. So yeah, I did really like that reference they used in regards to like Wally's meditation techniques as well. But Barry does use Iris's hairbrush as an anchor to essentially focus on the Still Force. And I love this scene so much. Barry becomes in tune with the Still Force. They do encounter Joe in the real world for a bit, but then Barry is able to become one in tune with time. So he could literally see the past, present, and future all at once. He mentions Jesse and Harry. He saw Nora's future, Bart's future, and he does also give us Flash fans a really cool tease, and that is of Max, that of course being Max Mercury, and this does of course foreshadow a new speedster potentially coming to the show, maybe next season. That would just be so epic, and I would really love to see that. But yeah, we do have Barry and Nora trying to go back to the real world, but they kept getting thrown into this time loop where they just keep running back, thrown off, running back, thrown off. But this is of course until both speedsters really focus on like the future and the past, and they phase through the Still Force and they're essentially sent back into the real world. It was a really cool scene. I really liked it. And Barry does essentially end up losing his Still Force connection after that because he used up all of it when trying to escape the Still Force. This does leave me wondering, does that mean that he has like a connection to the other forces as well, such as the Sage Force and the Strength Force, which he hasn't properly channeled yet? I'm not entirely sure, but maybe we'll eventually find out. I don't know. But yeah, he does essentially tell Joe that he does sense Iris, like Iris was there. He just wasn't able to like retrieve her in time. So yeah, they're gonna have to find another way to get Iris back, and I'm really interested to see how that is going to go. But yeah, we do of course have Barry telling Joe everything about what happened in regards to like Dion backstabbing Barry, and him also apologizing that okay, Joe, I should have listened to you. I just went in without like essentially running into the unknown. So he does apologize to Joe because of that. But then the episode does end with Caitlin and Chillblaine, and we do slowly see like Caitlin becoming this darker character. I am sure this is going to lead to something dark happening. Maybe she will end up becoming a villain in some way. I don't know. But yeah, Chillblaine arrives and Caitlin essentially promises that they will not fail. And this is when Chillblaine is like, okay, fine, I'm going to help you, but I want my Frost back. But clearly, like, this is going to fail. Like, they're not going to bring Chillblaine's Frost back. They're not going to bring the Frost we are used to. Something is definitely going to happen over here. And I'm sure it's going to either end up like with Caitlin injecting herself and she ends up becoming this villain version of Frost, well, season 3 Killer Frost pretty much, or we're just gonna get this brand new Frost being created and she's just gonna be a full-on villain. It will be a totally different Frost to the one they know. So I think one of those is gonna happen. But honestly, I'm really intrigued to see Team Flash's reaction to all of this when they find out what Caitlin has been up to. I want to see all the drama happening with that. And yeah, I'm really interested to see where this Caitlin storyline develops as well. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to tell me in the comment section down below if you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm interested to see all of your thoughts towards all of this as well. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.